Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to my page where we are celebrating Women's History Month by recognizing that hashtag we are our history. I just have to grab my glasses. Oops. Well, it seems I have to look for my glasses with you so that I can see you and hear you talking. I'm looking forward today. I'm super excited about our guest today because our guest today is a brand new board member. I'm super excited. I won't be able to see her come on unless I have my glasses. So I have to find them with you. You will help me find them. Thank you so much. Thank you. Phew, good I have some help. Okay, here we go. All right, so welcome to our Women's History Month, hashtag we are our history. Every day in March at 5 o'clock, we are meeting someone. We are in Arden Hills here, which is right between Minneapolis and St. Pauline. And come and see us. We had someone visit us today from Louisiana, and we often have guests from around the world and around the country who are here for conferences or what have you. And then they come and see us at the center. Alhamdulillah. I'm really excited. Today our guest is Sabriyya Shah, Auntie Sabriyya Shah, who is a brand new board member, and I'm excited for her to join. And I see you. Yes, and just push the button and I'll get you in. Inshallah. And yes, so happy to be here. Ahlan wa sahlan from Florida, and all of you who are joining. MashaAllah. So excited. Alhamdulillah. It's been such a wonderful thing the last couple of days to be listening to the women talking about we are our history and what they're thinking. Yes, I'm doing Quran. I'm doing Ramadan talks. So I will be doing Ramadan talks. I have a daily Ramadan talk every day at 5 o'clock. Singapore, yay, mashallah.
Alaikum salam, how are you?
Assalamu alaikum.
Can you see me, hear me, everything? We're good?
I can see you really well. I can hear you. I feel like there's a little bit of feedback. Maybe we should mute in between.
Yeah, but I wouldn't connect. I don't know what was wrong. I can just mute in between. I can do that, inshallah. I'll mute now.
So we'll both mute in between. I'll mute when you talk, and you can mute when I talk, and hopefully you'll do most of the talking today. All right. Well, first of all, so happy to have you here. And I just want to say right here and now how happy I am that you agreed to join the Rabata board this year. Yay. Would you like to, I feel like you want to say something, so I'm going to mute. Go ahead.
I'm so, I'm excited to join today, inshallah. I've been nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, so many women are joining, and inshallah I can provide some benefit, as much benefit as the other sisters have added, inshallah. So I'm going to mute.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited for you to be here. And I just want to tell everyone that, yes, we're super excited for Sabriyya to be on our board at Rabata. You can tell how young she is, mashallah. And that is something that I personally value a lot, because I really want to hear the perspective and viewpoint of younger women than I, because I'm getting up there, mashallah. But I like this thing about you being muted and not being able to tell me that.
Is it? Do you still hear feedback? I'm not sure. Okay, well, maybe I'll just leave it.
I think it's better now. I think we're okay. Yes, that's excellent. Okay, so what we've been talking about here is this idea that hashtag we are our history. And one of the questions that I've been asking is, and first of all, can you tell us some more about yourself, Sabriyya? I want people to meet you. So talk about where you live, talk about what your background is, what brings you here today.
Assalamualaikum, everybody. So as Auntie Tamara said, my name is Sabriyya. I live in Memphis, Tennessee. I basically grew up here, alhamdulillah, in the South. So a little bit about my background. I am 23. I just turned 23. I keep telling people I'm 22 because I forget that I turned 23. So alhamdulillah, I'm 23 years old. I'm one thing I'm really passionate about, and kind of how alhamdulillah, was, I guess, asked to join the Rabata board, is like I'm really passionate about Muslim women's education, especially here in America. I alhamdulillah have been able to study like locally with teacher Sheikh Hamza Abdul Malik, who's his family is very involved here at Rabata, like Sister Maryam Abdul Hakim. All of his in-laws are real super involved in Rabata. He's been my teacher for a really long time, since I was like 13. And so that I've been able to like study with local shuyukh and things like that. But one thing I always really wanted was like female teachers. And I remember back in the day, I think I was like 12, 13. We used to have this center here in Memphis called the Amin Center, and my mom and a couple of the sisters, they used to gather every, I think, Sunday morning and watch Aunt September's classes, and I would just come all I was like, it's super early, and I think it was like a fiqh class from what I remember, and I was like, this woman is so cool, mashallah, you know, she's like teaching, and I had never really seen female teachers before. At least like, you know, teaching publicly to open things like that. So alhamdulillah, I'm really happy to be here. I went to college. I was interested in doing psychology. I wanted to go into like counseling with an Islamic perspective. So I studied psych and I majored in child development. But then I was able to go after undergrad. I went to Taysir Seminary, and I picked Taysir Seminary so I could study under Ustad Zainab, because I was like, I want to study under a female teacher in person. So alhamdulillah, I graduated from Taysir last year, and when I came back to Memphis, Sister Safiya, who's a board member here, she was like, you know, I think you should really join the Rabata board. I think it would be really beneficial for you. And I was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I don't have the background. Like, mashallah, all these women have been doing such amazing things, and I'm just here, you know, what am I supposed to do with that? So I talked to Ustad Zainab, and I talked to Sister Malika, who works up there in Minnesota, and I was like, what do you guys think? And they were just like, it's a really good opportunity to, you know, be around women who are in doing what you want to do, you know, and to be able to learn from them, and also to give like a younger perspective. I think that us younger people, sometimes we end up in our own little bubble, and we're just like, we just focus on our stuff. We're not really involved in the community as much with, I think, bigger projects. So it's something that I really wanted to do, alhamdulillah. So here I am. They blessed me to be able to join, and I'm just here to try to serve as much as I can.
Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. I didn't actually realize you were 23. So 23, mashallah, you're getting up there, Sabriyya. Just kidding. Mashallah, mashallah. That's awesome. Okay, so I'm super excited to hear your answers to these questions, because I feel like they're going to have their own perspective. So my first question is, if you were to think about your, like, your grandchildren, okay, so you have to think about your grandchildren and then their grandchildren. So 4 generations of kids in the future, even one more, the 5. So you would be the great, 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 great grandmother of those children. What do you hope for them in the world and as Muslims in the world?
Sunnah. That's a really interesting question. A big thing that I've been thinking about recently is my hope for us to realize like the mission of Islam, especially if like I expect if my family is here in America, to not just be Muslim just because we're Muslim, but to realize that, you know, as Muslims, we have a job to do to carry on this legacy that we've been given, like this baton that we've been given. So I would hope that while inshallah things are much more improved in terms of institutionally, we have things set in Islam, and, you know, Islam is really, I think, settled here in America, that they still figure out that I can't just take it and just be, you know, I'm just a Muslim here. Like, you take it and like you own it, you know what I mean? And you carry that on and you serve in whatever capacity it is to serve, and things will look different. Like here now in our generation, there's certain things that we have to do, but much later on there's still going to be issues that have to be solved. So I think that's my hope. And my other hope is that, you know, one, that Islam just stays in my family at that point, but also for education to be a big deal, like for us to not be so, I guess, like struggling to find knowledge, that knowledge is just like widespread, and like in knowledge in it in terms of deep knowledge, Like we know like our Fard al-Ain, we know our history, we know our, we know the Prophet and we know the Sirah, and that is like, so that's solidified here, and you're able to study that here and to take that on for yourself. So I think that's some of the things that I've been thinking about.
So I just want to explore that a little bit with you. So what do you think we need to do to make that change? Like that is a big cultural change, and that's right where we are at that positive cultural change, the creative educational experiences. So what if you could just, and we're not holding you accountable for these ideas, right? But what do you think needs to happen? That's so that what we are
Mhm.
seeking for now becomes normative,
Yeah.
really, is what you're saying. What do you think we
I
have to
think a lot
do
of,
to make that
mashallah,
happen?
organizations like Rabata are doing this, where we're trying to establish ourselves here. I feel like for a long time, people were like, we all need to go overseas. And I think obviously going overseas is a big, like, it's a big factor in being able to bring that knowledge over here. But I think that we have to, I think, be comfortable with being here in America, like as a Muslim generation, like being here in America, like this is where Allah put us, and in order to fulfill that mission, like you have to appreciate where you are, and you have to realize that my dreams can't always be somewhere else, like it can't be somewhere else, like in
Mm-hmm.
another place in another time. Like even myself, I'm always like, I just want to move overseas and just be happy. you know I realized like this for now, this is where Allah has put me, and so I have to work here. And so I think that's one of the things that we can do is like be comfortable and confident that like Allah has placed us in America, and with that we have responsibility, just like anywhere that Allah puts you have responsibility. um and that we start to think, I think, communally. I think that's a big thing that we have to do. And we have to realize that like we're not just individuals, and we live in America, so it's an individualistic society. So that's just gonna cultural shift in itself, but thinking communally and thinking
Right.
long term. And I think those are some steps that we have to take to think like if we want Islam to live in our families for generations, like we have to not just think about ourselves. We have to think about the actions that we do. How does it affect my Muslim brother or sister? And what can I bring to the table to develop our capacities? And a lot of people in my generation, like we've been told, mashallah, like the older generations have done so much, like built masajid and built schools and all these things. And so we've been told like this is for us, like this is for the youth. We made this for you guys, we made this for you guys, we made this for you guys. And that's great. And we're so proud, we're so blessed to have that. But I think to a point, and I guess this is like a call out to my generation, it's like made us a little bit lazy in terms of we've been given so much, right? And so we don't think that we have to do anything. But that's not the response that I think that we should have. I think that we should be grateful for what we've been given and see how we move forward with that. And in that takes like, okay, the skills that I have, if I want to become a doctor, then I can't just be becoming a doctor for myself or to make money. Like I have to become a doctor so that I can help move this mission of Islam forward. So I think those are some steps that I think we really need to develop.
There's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately around our history, Muslim history. And one of the things, when I was studying history, it was pointed out to me, and it was something that's so obvious, like you hardly need someone to point it out to you, which is that when Muslims spread, whether we spread through trade or the military stuff or whatever, we often stayed in the cities. I think you do have a little feedback, so you might want to just mute for a second and then I'll pull you back. We often stayed in the cities. And so what that meant is that we built incredible cultures and institutions in the cities. But it also meant that somehow we just ignored what's called the reef, or the countryside. We ignored it. And so if you look around the Muslim world and you look in the countryside, you'll see that, first of all, there's a split of communities. You talk about thinking communally. There's a split of community. We have serious class issues where city people are a class and non-city people are another class. And that's not a positive thing. That's not something people are saying in a positive way. And I see us in America with the same mistake, that we've just left the countryside to be ignorant of us. grow Islamophobia, to, it's fine. We're working in the cities. So I've been thinking a lot about that lately. And what you just said made me think, yeah, like there's a whole generation of people that are ready. They're ready to not just continue to grow in the cities, but to start to change those negative attitudes and change our own history that hasn't served us well.
No, I think it's a big thing. I think that Islamophobia, especially for our generation, is something like we grew up post 9/11, and so that's kind of been like put on us. Like it's a lot. It's on our psyche a lot, But from my perspective, is like you can't just be scared all the time. Like part of that fear exists, but what are you going to do about it? Like I don't think that what you can call Quraysh, like they were Islamophobic, you know what I mean? Like the Muslims have always been around Islamophobia, but you have to do something to change it. We can't just say like, okay, we're just going to go in our little silos and we're not going to do anything about it. You have to go and be active in whatever capacity. Like if you're in a city, then go work in the cities. But if you're in the country or you're in a place that maybe has more rural areas, then you have to do something about that. And I think the biggest thing you can do is serve. And like just like the generations I think before us served us, because we needed to build inward strength, like communal strength. But alhamdulillah, I feel like our communities are pretty solid and self-sufficient in a way. Like financially we have a lot of money, but now we need to, I think, move outwards. You need to have people who like fight Islamophobia. You need to have people in, whether in media or on the ground, like serving people in terms of food or health or medically, things like that. So I think it is a big deal, and it's not something that we can ignore. Like when I saw when Donald Trump got elected, they saw like this what is it called, like the quiet middle place, right? And so that's something that we can't just ignore and say, oh, it doesn't really exist, or like just in these small country towns. Or I live in the South, so in the South people are racist or whatever, but it's a big deal. It's a silent majority. So you have to actually do something about it, or else it will kind of affect us, and we'll always be always on the defensive. And I think I wish for our generation to stop being so much on the defensive, be on the offensive. So like creating our institutions, like Rabata, or like, any other institutions, like create it, not just always say, well, we're gonna, as soon as something comes out, we're gonna say like, this is not Muslims. Like what are we doing? Not what are we not doing, but what are we doing?
Yeah.
And I think that would probably help in terms of spreading, like not ignoring the countryside, like, actually doing work and spreading all over the country and the globe.
And what you just said about what did you say? You said thinking about, so I'm talking about the country, and you said when you're living in this city, do something there. And I think that's really important too, because this idea, oh, I know what I wanted to say. We have to get out of defensive mode. I think that's what you're saying. We need to start being strategic thinkers. How are we bringing khair and goodness to every corner of the places that we live? That brings me to one of the questions I've been asking everyone, so I'm going to ask you now. What do you want, so 100 years from now, those grandchildren and the rest of the ummah, okay, how would you like them to remember you?
Me. Okay. Sunnah. I think that, inshallah, I would love for them to remember me as someone who really tried to establish the love of the Prophet ﷺ and the love of the Quran, especially honestly for, I think, Black Muslims. This is something that I grew up, like I realized growing up that I really never saw anybody like Black, and especially African American, like as a Quran reciter. And then on top of that, women, and that I've now been exposed to a lot more, but I think that that's something that I really want to like set in my family, and for them to remember me as someone who really tried to solidify like the Quran in our family, and then the love of the Prophet in my family, and as somebody who tried to do as much as I could wherever I was, like whatever that was, whatever need needed to be fulfilled, like I tried to serve in that need. So that would be my hope.
That gave me the chills when you said establishing the Quran in your family. And because earlier you said, I would hope that Islam is still living in my family. And when you said that, I also had this like feeling of that there's so much truth in that
Mm-hmm.
statement because we just don't know. And then to circle back here and say, you know, that you want to be remembered. So those kids, those children, adults, 5 centuries from now, when did the Quran get established in our family? Is we are people that memorize, we are people that recite, we are people that are beautiful reciters, for example. Oh, that was our great 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 grandmother
And
Sabriyya.
this is a big deal for me because both of my parents are converts. And so I realized that, like, alhamdulillah, and it can be a lot of pressure. And when I was younger, I used to be like, this is just so much stress, it's so much pressure. But as I got older, I like tried to shift my mindset to say, like, this is a gift that you've been given, you know, that your parents did a lot, like they sacrificed a lot to come into this deen, and you know, they had struggles with their families and things like that. So now you have to do something about it. Like, you can't just take it and just like let it go, you know. And so that, I think that's why it's a big deal for me.
That's beautiful. And as a convert myself, that's really touching. I hope that I, mashallah, yani may you be a qurrat ayn to your both of your parents. Alhamdulillah. Okay, one more thing. So or maybe not only one, I might have more, but another thing. So now, as a board member of Rabata and the other places that you volunteer and do things here, how do you see yourself as hashtag We Are Our Histories? How do you see your role here building this future that we just
Yeah,
talked
I
about?
think that how do I answer this? I think in my role, one, I just want to learn. I just want to learn for myself and to grow in, you know, wisdom and knowledge. But two, I think that it's just serving in whatever capacity. One thing that I really appreciate about Rabata is that it filled a void, you know. And one way that I tried to look, I try to see like what void needs to be filled, and if am I capable to do it, or can I become capable enough to do it. And you know, I think Rabata is filling a void in access to knowledge for women, you know, and alhamdulillah, they've been doing it for a long time. Mashallah. And so I think when I joined, that was like my hope, and I can be a part of that mission to fill the void for access to women's knowledge, like to access to knowledge, and especially from women. um, and I think also part of my role is that, well, I want to be, my role is to bring a youth perspective, but also to kind of allow other young people to see that like you can also serve. I feel like we have this like, oh my gosh, it's a really cute baby, sorry. Mashallah.
Yeah, we have cuties here.
I feel like a lot of my generation, we're like almost stuck in a way of like, we feel like we have to wait until we can do something. um and I remember one of
Mm-hmm.
my we when I was younger, I think we were 16, me and another community member, we started this like mobile food pantry in the community that we were around. We were able to serve like over 100 people a month, and things like that. But we did so much planning, and I remember telling an uncle in the community like, yeah, I don't know if we're gonna do it. I feel like we're not prepared enough, we're not ready enough. We need a lot more. And he was just like, you know, Sabriyya, like, you just have to start, and you're gonna grow as you start, but you have to start. And I feel like a lot of us are in our 20s and even maybe early 30s too. We're just waiting. We're like, I need to gain more. I need to get more qualifications. I need to get more resources. But I feel like, you know, you just start, you just do it and see what happens. Like, inshallah, if you have good intentions, Allah will khair in whatever you're trying to do. And so part of my hope in doing this and joining Rabata, but also wherever I serve, is to help push other people and other young people who feel like you're just restraining yourself. You have a lot of energy and ideas, but you're scared to do it because you feel like you're just not there yet. Is to kind of just push us to just go, and you know, we'll grow as we do it, and we're gonna make mistakes, and we're gonna make big mistakes, but then you'll come back from it. You'll come back from it, but you'll only be able to learn. You're never going to be able to learn or to succeed if you don't try. You're just waiting for someone to tell you to do it, you know. That's hard.
I love that. I lost you there for a second. There you go. You're back. Um, I love that. That is I love that. And you know, Dr. Jones, I don't know if you know Dr. Jones, but you do. Okay, so I work with him in the academic council at TISA, and he's hilarious. He always says, whenever we're rushing on something, he says, well, you know, that's what it's like when you're building a plane while you're flying. And that is sometimes what you have to do. You've got to build the plane while you're flying it, and that's how you get up in the air, and that's how you get moving. So yeah, I'm really fascinated by this idea that the younger generation might be feeling like I'm not good enough yet. I'm not good enough yet. I'm not good enough yet. Well, that's the way
Nobody.
you get. Who's good enough? You know, it's just not there. So it's just a matter of building the plane while you're flying it, really, and making it
And that's
happen.
the position that we're in.
SubhanAllah.
We're not in the privileged position yet for things to always be done for us. Like Islam hasn't been here for hundreds. I mean, it has been here for a long time, but it hasn't been built and institutionalized for hundreds of years yet. So you're going to need people to just kind of sacrifice the time and the energy and work and learn while they work, you know, until we get there to where we have institutions where people are kind of can take the time to do it and we have like really solidified people. But until then we're all just going to have to learn. I'm sure even when you started Rabata, you were still like, I don't feel 100% yet, but we just gotta do it.
Are you kidding me? I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, I was working in the world of education for all those years, and then I have been outside of the United States. Like, I knew nothing. I didn't know how to manage my life on the net because we did have internet at the end of my stay there, but nothing like here. And so when we first started, I mean, I don't know. I didn't even know what to say. Like, I have a lot of stories I could tell you about just like, all right, let's just jump and see what's on the bottom there. See where we
Right.
land. Let's jump and see where we land. I was going to tell you something, but I lost it now. I forgot. But anyway, I was this idea of not knowing, you know, what you're doing. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I had a guest here. We had a guest here today who came from Louisiana, and she's doing a PhD in human resources development. Muslim sister, originally from Morocco. Had a great conversation with her. The reason I'm bringing her up now with what you're saying is that you're talking about institution building and institution development, and one place that I'm hoping to have an impact is that we work so hard to try to push our organization's institution into like really a healthy space of sustainability and capacity and all of that. And I'm hoping to make it a template, like so other people can learn how to do it. That's what cultural change is about. Like I have no interest in sort of hiding our tricks and you know, like, oh, we can try new things all the time. And when we try new things, I'm like, we're gonna write a book about that. When it works, I'm like, we're writing a book about this. We're writing a book about this.
That's part of what we were saying earlier of like thinking communally, like not just thinking about myself, and myself is also just my organization. It's like, how do we sustain this and spread this? Because there are different needs. Like Rabata fills a specific need, but there are other needs in other communities that maybe Rabata, this is just not our capacity, and someone else needs to do it. You know, and we need to build,
for sure.
I think, very what's the word, competent, like I think competency. I'm in Bayan's chaplaincy MDiv program, and so this week we had a class, like an intensive class, week of classes in Chicago, and I'm taking a class called Muslim Youth Identity Development with Imam Jihad Safar from Islah LA. And so we were talking about like, what does our community need? And we were just like, our community needs competency, and competency in individuals, but competency in organizations as well. And so organizations who've done it for a long time, such as Rabata, like we have the tools to be able to say, this is our model and this is how you can maybe take because we've gone through the ups and downs, you know, and maybe instead of all of us having to retry and copy paste our mistakes, like take the models and move on. And that's thinking as an ummah, that's thinking big, not just me and myself and what I can do and my success. So
yes, 100%. I think that's really important. That because that's how we all get together. We're not in competition. We all have that same big goal, and we're all filling the gaps that and filling the smaller gaps. I mean, nobody. It's cracking me up every time you say we've been doing this for a long time. The first time you said it, I was like, we have, and then I was like, oh yeah, because you've done it for half of your life. But for me, I'm like, I still feel like a baby in this work, you know. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Well, we're at the half hour. I really enjoyed this conversation. I saw chat coming through. People are like, "This is an amazing conversation. They want to hear us."
Does Rabata have a podcast?
After
that's an idea.
Yeah,
that's an idea. Podcasts are really
yes, it is
right now.
It's a
so
great
that
idea.
might need to be the thing that Rabata does. And there's a lot of I think toxic Muslim podcasts, so we need more positive Muslim podcasts out there.
That's an excellent point. Yes, and I like talking to people. One of my favorite things to do. So I'd love to do a podcast. That'd be so fun. I love it. So now Ramadan is coming, so we have to be focused here. We focus on Ramadan. Right now it's Ramadan. Yes. But we'll put it on the parking lot list for future projects, inshallah. Yes. I think it would be so fun to continue this. Yes, alhamdulillah. All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. And just a reminder, I am meeting a different woman from Rabata every single day in the month of March, Women's History Month. You can hashtag we are our history. Alhamdulillah. All right. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum, everybody.